The wind screamed across the ice plains of Frosthaven like a wounded animal. Hyan-Suk pressed her gloved hand against the frozen window of the habitat dome and watched the blizzard tear across the moon's surface. Behind her, little Nari sat at the metal table, drawing pictures with the last of their colored pencils. The child hummed a song her mother had taught her, something from Earth that Hyan-Suk barely remembered anymore. They had been on this ice moon for 3 years now. 847 humans living in connected domes, mining rare isotopes from beneath the frozen crust. The work was hard and the cold was harder. Every morning, Hyan-Suk woke up and wondered if this would be the day something went wrong. A dome breach. A mining accident. Equipment failure in the bitter cold. There were 1,000 ways to die on Frosthaven, and she knew them all. She was an engineer. It was her job to keep people alive. She maintained the heating systems, repaired the air recyclers, and made sure the mining equipment didn't freeze solid in the negative 200-degree temperatures outside. Her hands were scarred from burns and cuts. Her back ached from crawling through narrow maintenance tunnels. But she never complained. Complaining didn't keep Nari warm or fed. The door to their small quarters hissed open. Misun stepped inside, shaking ice crystals from her thermal suit. She was Hyan-Suk's best friend and worked in the hydroponics bay, growing what little fresh food they could manage. Her face was pale with cold despite the suit's heating elements. "Have you heard?" Misun asked, pulling off her gloves. Commander Taeyang called an emergency meeting. Something happened at the western mining site. Hyan-Suk's stomach tightened. What kind of something? Nobody's saying. But Security Officer Daeho came back with blood on his suit. Not his blood. Nari looked up from her drawing. "Mama, what's wrong?" Hyan-Suk forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Keep drawing. Show me when I get back, okay?" She kissed the top of her daughter's head and grabbed her own thermal suit from the wall hook. "Misun, can you stay with her?" "Of course." The central dome was packed with colonists when Hyan-Suk arrived. People crowded together, their breath forming clouds of mist in the cold air. The heating system was running at maximum capacity, but it never felt warm enough. Nothing on Frosthaven ever felt warm enough. Commander Taeyang stood on the raised platform near the communications array. He was a tall man with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He had been a military officer back on Earth, and it showed in the way he carried himself. Straight back, steady voice, but tonight his hands shook slightly as he gripped the railing. "Listen carefully," he said. The crowd fell silent. At 1600 hours today, our Western mining team encountered unknown hostiles. We have 17 dead, 23 wounded. The dome erupted in shocked voices. Hyan-Suk felt her heart hammering. Hostiles? They had been on this moon for 3 years and never seen any signs of intelligent life. Taeyang raised his hand for silence. The attackers used primitive weapons, arrows, spears, made from some kind of crystallized material. But they're effective. Medic Young Mi has been treating the wounded. The weapons contain a toxin that paralyzes the nervous system. A woman near the front shouted, "What are they?" "What do they look like?" "Large, maybe 2.5 meters tall. Thick hides. They seem adapted to the cold. Our bullets hurt them, but not enough. They disappeared into the ice caves before we could capture or kill any." Taeyang's jaw tightened. "We've locked down all mining operations. Everyone stays inside the domes until further notice." "For how long?" Someone else called out, "As long as it takes." Taeyang looked around at all of them. "Our emergency beacon can't reach Earth from here. The communication relay is 5 kilometers away at the northern tower. We built it there because the terrain was stable. But now we need to reach it. We need to call for help." Hyan-Suk understood immediately. 5 kilometers across open ice. Through whatever was out there. It was a death sentence. Daeho stepped forward. He was younger than Taeyang, with a scar across his left cheek from an old mining accident. "I'll go," he said simply. "It's my job." "You'll need an engineer," Hyan-Suk heard herself say. The words came out before she could stop them. "The beacon might need repairs." It's been sitting out there for 2 years. Tae-young looked at her. You have a daughter. I know. That's why I'm volunteering. Because I want her to survive this. Young Mi pushed through the crowd. She was a small woman with quick hands and kind eyes. If you're going, you'll need a medic. Those arrows have toxin? If anyone gets hit, they'll need immediate treatment. Tae-young studied the three of them. Finally, he nodded. Okay, you leave at first light. Take thermal packs, weapons, and emergency supplies. Travel fast. Avoid contact if possible. Get that beacon working and call Earth. He paused. May whatever gods you believe in go with you. That night, Hyeon-suk lay next to Nari in their narrow bunk. The child had already fallen asleep, her small body curled against her mother's side. Hyeon-suk stroked her daughter's hair and tried not to cry. She might not come back from this. She knew that. But if she didn't go, they would all die here. The colony couldn't survive a siege. They had limited food, limited ammunition, limited everything. Mi-sun had promised to take care of Nari if something happened. That promise was the only thing keeping Hyeon-suk together. She thought about Earth, about green grass and warm sunshine, about rain that wasn't frozen solid before it hit the ground. Nari had never seen Earth. She had been born here, in this frozen hell, and she deserved better. All of them did. Hyeon-suk closed her eyes and listened to her daughter breathe. In and out. In and out. The sound of life in a place that wanted them dead. Tomorrow, she would walk across 5 kilometers of ice. Tomorrow, she would face whatever was out there. Tomorrow, she might die, but tonight she held her daughter close and memorized the feeling. The warmth. The love. The reason she kept fighting. Outside, the wind howled. The ice moon turned slowly in the darkness of space. And somewhere out there, something waited. Dawn on Frost Haven was barely different from night. The distant sun was just a bright star in the black sky, giving almost no heat and little light. Hyeon-suk stood in the airlock, checking her thermal suit one last time. The suit was the only thing between her and death. 3 layers of insulation, heating elements powered by a small battery pack, and an oxygen recycler that pulled what little atmosphere existed on this frozen moon and made it breathable. Nari had cried when she woke up. She had wrapped her small arms around Hyeon-suk's neck and begged her not to go. It had taken all of Hyeon-suk's strength to pull away, to hand her daughter to Mi-sun, to walk toward the airlock without looking back. If she had looked back, she would have stayed. And if she stayed, they would all die. Daeho finished loading supplies into a small sled. Food rations, medical supplies, spare battery packs, and weapons. He carried a plasma rifle that could punch through most materials. Young Mi had a pistol strapped to her hip. Hyeon-suk carried a blade and a repair kit. The blade felt strange in her hand. She was an engineer, not a fighter. Ready? Tae-young asked through the comm system. Ready, Daeho replied. The outer airlock door opened. The cold hit them like a physical blow. Even through the suits, Hyeon-suk felt it trying to kill her. The heating elements kicked in immediately, working to keep her core temperature stable. She took a breath. The recycled air tasted metallic. They stepped out onto the ice. The landscape was beautiful and terrible. Endless white plains stretched to the horizon, broken by jagged ice formations that rose like frozen teeth. The wind carried crystals of frozen atmosphere, making the air shimmer. In the distance, mountains of ice reached toward the black sky. 5 kilometers north, Daeho said, checking his navigation device. We follow the old survey markers. Stay close. Stay alert. They walked in silence, pulling the supply sled behind them. The ice crunched under their boots. Hyeon-suk's breath fogged her helmet visor until the anti-fog system cleared it. Every sound seemed too loud. Every shadow looked like a threat. After an hour, young Mi spoke. Tell me something. Why did you really volunteer? Hyeon-suk didn't answer right away. She thought about Nari's face, about the way her daughter laughed, about the picture Nari had drawn yesterday of the two of them standing under a sun neither of them had ever felt. Because someone has to, she finally said. And I couldn't ask anyone else to leave their family behind. But you have a family, that's why I have to come back. Young Mi was quiet for a moment. I'm pregnant, she said softly. 2 months. Haven't told anyone except my partner. If something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen, Daeho interrupted. We move fast, we stay smart, we get to that beacon, simple. But it wasn't simple. They found the first body after 2 hours of walking. It was one of the creatures. The Krev, Taeyang had called them, using a word from their subsonic language that the translation software had picked up. The creature was huge, easily 2.5 meters tall, with thick, pale hide covered in a layer of fine frost. It had been shot multiple times. The wounds had frozen solid, no blood, just ice. Daeho knelt beside it. Look at this, he said, pointing to a necklace around the creature's neck. It was made of carved ice, small figures linked together. A family. Parents and children, all holding hands. They have families, Youngmi whispered. Hyeonsuk felt something twist in her chest. These weren't mindless monsters. They were people. Different people, but people. They had art, they had culture. They had loved ones waiting for them to come home, just like Nari was waiting for her. Doesn't matter, Daeho said, but his voice lacked conviction. They killed 17 of ours. And we killed this one, Hyeonsuk replied. Maybe we're on their land. Maybe we're the invaders. We didn't know anyone lived here. Would it have mattered if we did? Daeho stood up. We need to keep moving. They walked for 3 more hours. The cold was relentless. Hyeonsuk's heating elements were working at 70% capacity, draining the battery faster than she liked. They stopped to rest in the shelter of an ice ridge, eating cold rations and checking their equipment. That's when they saw the Krev, 3 of them, moving across the ice plain to the east. They carried spears and bows, but they weren't hunting. They were traveling. One of them, smaller than the others, carried something in its arms. A child, a Krev child. Don't move, Daeho breathed. Don't even breathe loud. They watched the Krev family pass. The adults moved with careful grace, testing the ice before each step. The child made small sounds, and the parent carrying it made soft rumbling noises back. Comforting sounds. Parent sounds. When the Krev were gone, Youngmi wiped tears from her eyes. We're all just trying to survive, she said. Hyeonsuk nodded. She thought about Nari, about the Krev child, about how every parent, human or alien, just wanted their children to be safe and warm. They continued north as the light began to fade. 2 kilometers left? They were going to make it. Then Daeho's leg broke through thin ice. He fell hard, his knee slamming into a hidden rock formation beneath the surface. The crack of bone was audible even through the suit. Daeho screamed, a raw sound of pain that made Hyeonsuk's blood run cold. Young Mi was at his side immediately, scanning the injury with her medical device. Compound fracture, she said. The bone's shattered. I can stabilize it, but he can't walk. Leave me, Daeho gasped. You two go. Get to the beacon. Shut up, Hyeonsuk said. She looked at Young Mi. Can you give him something for the pain? Yes, but do it. We're not leaving him. They fashioned a stretcher from the supply sled and lifted Daeho onto it. He was heavy, and the ice made every step treacherous. But they pulled him forward, meter by meter. Step by step, the temperature was dropping as night fell. Hyeonsuk's heating elements were down to 50%. Young Mi's suit was showing damage from where she had fallen helping Daeho. They found a small ice cave and dragged Daeho inside. We rest here until dawn, Hyeonsuk said. Then we finish this. Daeho grabbed her arm. His face was pale with pain. If they come, he said. If the Krev find us, you leave me. You understand? You get Young Mi to that beacon? For her baby. For Nari, for all of them. Hyeonsuk didn't answer. She just squeezed his hand and tried to believe they would all make it out alive. Outside the cave, the wind howled. And in the darkness, something howled back. The night in the ice cave was the longest of Hyeonsuk's life. She sat against the frozen wall, watching Daeho drift in and out of consciousness while Young Mi checked his vital signs every few minutes. The heating elements in their suits glowed faintly in the darkness, small points of warmth in an ocean of cold. Hyan-S. Oh, okay, thought about Nari. By now, her daughter would have eaten dinner. Misun would have read her a story, probably the one about the brave explorer who discovered new worlds. Nari loved that story. She always said she wanted to be an explorer when she grew up. Hyan-Suk hoped that when Nari grew up, she would explore somewhere warm, somewhere with real sunlight and trees that weren't grown in hydroponic tanks. Tell me about your daughter, Young-mi said quietly. Daeho was sleeping, his breathing shallow but steady. Hyan-Suk smiled in the dark. She's 10. Smart as anything. She can solve engineering problems that would stump most adults. Last month, she figured out why the water recycler in Section 3 kept making that grinding noise. Turned out it was a loose filter mount. She fixed it with a piece of wire. She sounds like her mother. She's better than me, braver, stronger. Hyan-Suk's voice cracked. I need to get back to her. We will, Young-mi said. But she didn't sound certain. When dawn came, they loaded Daeho back onto the makeshift stretcher. His leg was badly swollen despite the medication. Every movement made him gasp with pain, but he didn't complain. He just gritted his teeth and told them to keep moving. The beacon tower appeared on the horizon after an hour of walking. It rose from the ice like a silver needle, its communication array pointed at the stars. 2 kilometers. They were so close. That's when they heard the subsonic rumble. Rev, multiple contacts, coming from the west. Daeho reached for his rifle with shaking hands. Go, he said. Both of you run, Daeho, Hyan-Suk started. That's an order. His eyes were fierce despite the pain. I'm dead weight, but I can buy you time. Get to that tower. Call Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them the Krev aren't monsters. They're people defending their home? He pulled a thermal charge from his belt. Tell them we should have done better. Young-mi was crying. We can carry you. We can, no time. Daeho chambered around in his rifle. Go, now. Hyan-Suk grabbed Young-mi's arm and pulled her away. The medic fought her for a moment, then broke and ran. They sprinted across the ice, their boots slipping, their breath coming in ragged gasps. Behind them, Hyan-Suk heard Daeho's rifle firing. 3 shots, 4, 5, the explosion. The thermal charge detonated with a blast of heat and light. Hyan-Suk felt the shockwave through her suit, nearly knocked her down. She didn't look back. She couldn't. If she looked back, she would see Daeho's sacrifice and she would break. They ran. The beacon tower grew larger. 1 kilometer. 500 meters. Young-mi stumbled. Hyan-Suk turned back without thinking. Pure instinct. Pure humanity. She reached for the medic, grabbed her arm, pulled her to her feet. Come on, we're almost there. That's when she heard the whisper of the arrow. It sounded like wind, like ice crystals on metal, like death. The arrow hit Hyan-Suk in the chest. The impact knocked her backward. She landed hard on the ice, staring up at the black sky. There was no pain at first, just pressure, just the feeling of something wrong inside her body. She looked down and saw the crystalline arrow jutting from her chest, right between her ribs. Blood was already freezing around the wound, turning red ice to pink. Young-mi screamed. She dropped to her knees beside Hyan-Suk, her hands shaking as she tried to assess the injury. But they both knew. They both understood. The arrow had pierced the suit, pierced the body, pierced something vital. No, 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 Young-mi sobbed. Hold on, I can fix this. I can. Hyan-Suk felt the toxin spreading. It started at the wound and radiated outward like cold fire. Her fingers went numb. Her toes. The feeling crept up her arms and legs, shutting down nerves, shutting down movement, shutting down everything. She had minutes. Maybe less. Listen, Hyan-Suk gasped. Her voice was weak. The toxin was reaching her lungs. You have to go. Tower, right there. 300 meters. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. Hyan-Suk tried to reach for her thermal pack, but her hands wouldn't work anymore. Young me, please, your baby, Nari, everyone, they need you. Young me was crying so hard she could barely see. I can't do this. You can. Hansuk felt blood in her mouth. The cold was inside her now, freezing her from within. You're strong. Stronger than you know. Get to tower. Call Earth. Tell them to come. Hansuk, tell Nari. Hansuk's vision was fading. The black sky was getting darker. Tell her I love her. Tell her be strong. Tell her. She coughed. More blood. Tell her humanity survives because we love each other. The thermal pack on Hansuk's belt was still warm. She could feel it, even through the numbness. Her last bit of heat in this frozen hell. With the last of her strength, she pulled it free and pressed it into Youngmi's hands. Don't cry, Hansuk whispered. The words took everything she had left. Stay warm. Youngmi sobbed, clutching the thermal pack. I'll tell her. I promise. I'll tell everyone. Good. Hansuk smiled. Or tried to. She couldn't feel her face anymore. Now run. Youngmi stood. She took one last look at Hansuk lying in the red-pink ice, then turned and ran for the tower. Her feet pounded across the frozen ground. 200 meters. 150. Hansuk watched her go. Watched her reach the tower. Watched her disappear inside. The darkness was almost complete now. Hansuk couldn't feel the cold anymore. Couldn't feel anything? She thought about Nari, about her daughter's smile. About the way she had hugged her that morning, fierce and desperate. About the picture she had drawn of the two of them under a sun. Maybe Nari would see a real sun someday. Maybe Earth would come. Maybe the colony would survive. Hansuk hoped so. She closed her eyes. The last thing she heard was a sound from the beacon tower. A transmission. Youngmi's voice, cracking with grief and determination, screaming across space. Colony under attack. Requesting immediate military intervention. We need help, please. We need help. Then silence. Then nothing. The ice moon turned slowly in the void. The wind howled over Hansuk's still body. Blood and warmth leaked into the frozen ground and disappeared, but the beacon kept transmitting. 3 weeks to Earth. 3 weeks for the cavalry to come. 3 weeks for Hansuk's sacrifice to mean something. The message traveled through the dark, carrying with it the story of a mother who gave everything so others could live, who thought not of herself at the end, but of a young medic who needed warmth, of a daughter who needed a future, of a colony that needed hope. That was what humans did. They loved, even when it killed them. Youngmi made it inside the beacon tower and collapsed against the wall. Her whole body shook with sobs. The thermal pack Hansuk had given her was still clutched in her hands, still warm, still radiating the last gift a dying woman could give. She pressed it against her chest and screamed until her throat was raw, but screaming wouldn't save the colony. Crying wouldn't bring Hansuk back. She forced herself to stand, forced herself to move to the communications console. The tower had its own power supply, independent from the colony. The screens flickered to life when she touched them, bathing the small room in blue light. Her hands shook as she activated the emergency beacon. The system was designed to be simple. Press 3 buttons. Record a message. The signal would bounce off relay satellites and reach Earth in approximately 3 weeks. Then Earth would send help. If they sent help. If they cared about a small mining colony on the edge of nowhere, Youngmi activated the recording. This is Medic Youngmi of Frosthaven Colony. We are under attack by indigenous hostile forces. We have 34 dead, including the engineer who gave her life to get me to this tower. Her name was Hansuk. She had a daughter named Nari. She told me to stay warm before she died. Youngmi's voice cracked. We need immediate military intervention. We need ships, soldiers, supplies. We need help, please. Please come. She ended the recording and set it to repeat on a loop. Every hour, on the hour, the beacon would scream into space. Come help us. Come save us. Come witness what Hansuk died for. Youngmi stayed in the tower for 6 hours. She couldn't go back outside. couldn't face the ice plains where Hyunsuk's body lay frozen. Finally, as night fell, she gathered her courage. She had to return to the colony. They needed to know the beacon was active. They needed to know help was coming. She stepped outside and saw them, Krev, 5 of them, standing in a semicircle around the tower. They held weapons, but the weapons were lowered. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. Youngmi raised her pistol with shaking hands. "Stay back," she said, knowing they couldn't understand. "I don't want to hurt you." One of the Krev stepped forward. It was larger than the others, with intricate patterns carved into its thick hide. A leader, maybe. It made a deep rumbling sound, subsonic vibrations that Youngmi felt in her chest more than heard with her ears. Then it did something impossible. It knelt. The other, Krev, knelt too. All 5 of them, lowering themselves to the ice, heads bowed. Youngmi didn't understand. Were they surrendering? Mocking her? She kept the pistol raised, her finger on the trigger. The lead Krev reached into a pouch at its side and pulled something out. It set the object on the ice between them, then backed away slowly. The Krev stood and walked into the darkness, disappearing like ghosts. Youngmi waited 10 minutes before approaching the object. It was a carving made of ice, beautiful and intricate. A human figure with an arrow in its chest, arms outstretched, palms open. Beneath the figure were carved symbols in the Krev language and a single word in crude, human letters, Hormata. Youngmi didn't know what it meant. But she knew it was important. She picked up the carving carefully and made the long walk back to the colony. Every step she expected to feel an arrow in her back. Every shadow looked like death. But no attack came. The Krev let her pass. When she reached the colony, Taeyang met her at the airlock. His face fell when he saw she was alone. "Where are the others?" "Dead," Youngmi said. The word was hollow. "Daeho sacrificed himself to buy us time. Hyunsuk was hit by an arrow. The toxin killed her in minutes. But the beacon is active. Earth will receive our message in 3 weeks?" Taeyang closed his eyes. 3 weeks. "We can hold out that long," Youngmi said. But she wasn't sure. She showed him the Krev carving. Showed him the word. Taeyang studied it, his expression thoughtful. "The Krev haven't attacked since you got back?" "No, they let me pass." They were respectful. Respectful of what? "I don't know." Over the next week, the Krev behavior changed. They didn't attack. They didn't even approach the colony. But they were always there, watching from a distance. Observers, not raiders. Taeyang sent out a scouting party to retrieve Hyunsuk's body. They found her where she had fallen, frozen solid, the arrow still in her chest. The Krev had built something around her. A circle of ice sculptures. Dozens of them. Each one showed a different scene. Parents holding children. Families gathering around fires. Hunters protecting their young. The scouts brought Hyunsuk back, but they left the ice circle intact. It seemed wrong to disturb it. Nari didn't cry when she learned her mother was dead. She just became very quiet. Very still. Misun tried to comfort her, but the child pulled away. She sat in the corner of their quarters and stared at the picture she had drawn. The one with her and her mother under a sun they had never seen. Young Dashmi visited her every day. She sat with Nari and told her everything. About the journey. About Daeho's sacrifice. About how her mother had given her the thermal pack and told her to stay warm. About the last words. Tell her humanity survives because we love each other. She was brave, Youngmi said. The bravest person I've ever known. Nari finally spoke. Did it hurt? Youngmi didn't lie. Yes, but not for long. The toxin works fast. And at the end, I think she was thinking about you. About how much she loved you. I want to see where she died. Nari, I don't think I want to see. Tae-yang agreed to take Nari out to the site, with Youngmi and Misun accompanying. They suited up and made the 2-kilometer walk across the ice. The Krev were there, watching, but they didn't interfere. Nari stood at the edge of the ice circle and looked at the sculptures. She was 10 years old and looking at a shrine built by aliens for her mother. Youngmi watched the child's face. trying to read the emotions there. Grief, anger, confusion, but also something else. Pride, maybe. Or understanding. Why did they make this? Nari asked. I think, Taeyang said slowly, they're honoring her. The word they carved means something like Mother who burns against winter. I think they understand what she did. That she died protecting others. That she gave her warmth to young me at the end. Nari reached out and touched one of the ice sculptures. They have families too, she said. The Krev? They love their children too. Yes, Taeyang agreed. They do, then why are we fighting? It was a child's question, simple, direct, cutting through all the complexity and politics and fear. Why are we fighting? Taeyang looked at the ice circle. At the shrine. At the 10-year-old girl who had just lost her mother. I don't know, he admitted. But maybe we don't have to. That night, Taeyang activated the translator software they had been developing. The Krev communicated through subsonic vibrations, complex patterns of sound that human ears could barely detect. But computers could pick them up, could analyze them, could maybe translate them. He went outside alone, unarmed, and approached the nearest Krev observer. He played a simple message through the translator. We want peace. We want to understand. The Krev didn't attack. It listened. And then it responded. The translation was rough, but understandable. Mother burned bright. We honor, we grieve. Our children grieve too. Perhaps we can stop the grief. Taeyang felt something loosen in his chest. Yes, he said. Let's stop the grief. The beacon still transmitted. The message still traveled through space. Earth would come eventually, but maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't arrive to find two species at war. Maybe they would arrive to find something else. Something born from a mother's last sacrifice. Something that proved what humans were really capable of. Not just survival, not just violence, but understanding, compassion, love. 3 weeks felt like 3 years. Every day, Nari woke up and remembered her mother was gone. Every day, Misun held her while she cried. Every day, young Mi watched her belly grow with new life while mourning the life that had saved her. Every day, Taeyang stood at the communications console and prayed that Earth would answer, but something remarkable was happening. The Krev came to the colony. Not with weapons, with gifts. They brought ice carvings and strips of dried meat from creatures they hunted in the deep caves. They showed the humans how to find pockets of liquid water beneath the surface, how to identify safe ice from thin ice, how to move across the frozen plains without making noise that triggered avalanches. The humans gave gifts in return. Heated shelters, medical supplies, tools made from metal, a material the Krev had never worked with before. Young Mi treated a Krev child who had been injured in a fall. The child's parent made subsonic sounds that the translator interpreted as, "Thank you, warm one. You honor life like Kormata. Kormata. Mother who burns against winter." That's what they called Hyunsuk now. The translator software improved daily. Conversations became easier. The humans learned that the Krev had lived on this moon for thousands of generations. They worshipped their ancestors and believed that parents who died protecting their children became stars. They had seen the mining equipment as desecration of sacred ground. They had attacked out of fear and anger. "We did not know you were people," the Krev elder told Taeyang through the translator. "We thought you were invaders, demons, things without souls. But Kormata showed us. She loved. She protected. She gave warmth even in death. Only people do this. Only mothers." Taeyang showed them Hyunsuk's suit camera footage. Her last moments. Her last words. The Krev elder watched in silence, then made a sound like wind through ice caves. "Grief," the translator said. "Deep grief. We have taken mothers from you," the elder said. "We have made children orphans as you have made our children orphans. This is wrong. This must end." Yes, Taeyang agreed. "It must end." They wrote a treaty. It took 2 weeks of careful negotiation. The humans would share their technology. The Krev would teach them how to survive the ice. They would divide the moon's resources, work together, live together. No more death. No more orphans. On day 20, the first Krev family moved into a section of the human colony. A parent and 2 children, curious about the heated domes and hydroponics and the strange humans who built with metal and light. The Krev children played with Nari, making pictures in frost while their parents spoke with Misun about child-rearing across species. On day 21, Earth's response came. The military fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 5 warships, heavily armed, ready for battle. Captain Sang-wook commanded the flagship. He had orders to secure the colony and eliminate the hostile threat. What he found instead was Krev and humans having dinner together in the central dome. Taeyang met the captain at the landing pad. "Welcome to Frosthaven, Captain. We weren't expecting you for another 2 weeks." Sang-wook stared at the colony, at the mixed population, at the Krev walking freely among humans. "Your distress signal said you were under attack. 34 dead. We came as fast as we could." "We were under attack," Taeyang said. "But we made peace. Come, there's someone you need to meet." He led Sang-wook to the monument. They had built it where Hyun-suk had fallen. Human metal and Krev ice fused together, forming a sculpture of a figure with an arrow in her chest, arms outstretched, palms open. Beneath it, a plaque in both human and Krev language. Hyun-suk, engineer, mother, Kormata. She died so we could live. She gave warmth so we could survive. She showed us what humanity means. Nari stood beside the monument with young Mi. The medic was visibly pregnant now, her belly round beneath her thermal suit. She held Nari's hand tight. "My mother died here," Nari said to the captain. She was calm, composed, older than her 10 years. An arrow went through her chest, but she didn't curse or scream or hate. She told young Mi not to cry. She gave her the thermal pack from her belt and said to stay warm. Those were her last words. "Stay warm." Sang-wook felt something catch in his throat. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Don't be sorry," Nari said. "Be better. My mother died because humans and Krev didn't understand each other. Because we saw differences before we saw similarities. She wouldn't want you to come here with warships. She would want you to come with open hands." The captain looked at the monument, at the mixed crowd of humans and Krev gathered around it, at the 10-year-old girl who spoke with the weight of someone who had lost everything but refused to lose hope. He turned to his communications officer. "Tell the fleet to stand down. No weapons. No threats. We're here to support a colony, not wage a war." That night they held a ceremony. Every human and every Krev in the colony gathered around the monument. Young Mi spoke first, her voice strong despite the tears. She told them about the journey, about Daeho's sacrifice, about Hyun-suk's last moments, about the thermal pack that still worked, still warmed, still carried a mother's love. She could have kept it, Young Mi said. She was dying. The cold was killing her. But she gave it to me. Because I was pregnant. Because I needed warmth more than she did. Because that's what humans do. We give, we love, we sacrifice for each other. The Krev elder spoke next, through the translator. We honor Kormata. We honor all who fell, Krev and human both. We honor the children left behind. We vow on the memory of the dead that we will make a new world here. A shared world. A warm world. Where no mother has to die protecting her young. Where no child grieves alone. Then Nari stepped forward. She was small and young and her mother was dead, but she stood straight and spoke clearly. My mother told me stories about Earth, about sunshine and rain and grass. I've never seen those things. I was born here, in the cold and dark. But my mother taught me something more important than sunshine. She taught me that warmth doesn't come from the sun. It comes from us. From what we give each other. From how we love each other. She looked at the Krev children watching from the crowd. At Young Mi's pregnant belly. At the mixed population of 2 species learning to live together. "I'm staying warm, Mom," she said to the monument. We all are. Captain Sangwook stepped forward. He wore his full military uniform, decorated with medals and honors from a lifetime of service. He looked like war, but when he spoke, his voice was soft. I came here to fight, to protect humans from a hostile species. But what I found instead is proof of what makes humanity special. It's not our weapons or our technology or our warships. It's this. He gestured to the monument, to the crowd, to the small girl with her hand in a medic's hand. A mother with an arrow through her chest, dying on an ice plain in the middle of nowhere, thought not of revenge or survival, but of a stranger who needed warmth. That is who we are. That is why we survive when others fall. Not because we're stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because we love, because we give, because we refuse to let the cold win. He turned to the Krev. You call her Kormata, Mother who burns against winter. That's perfect. That's exactly what she was. What she still is. Because her sacrifice didn't just save young me. It saved all of you. It built this bridge between our peoples. It proved that we're more alike than different. That every parent, human or Krev, would die for their children. That every person, regardless of species, deserves warmth. The crowd was silent. Humans and Krev standing together in the frozen darkness, united by the memory of a woman who gave everything. Young me placed her hand on her belly. In 3 months, she would give birth. The child would be the first human born after the peace. She had already chosen a name, Hyan, after the woman who saved her. After the mother who showed them all what humanity meant, Nari touched the monument, feeling the cold metal and ice. But around her she felt warmth. The warmth of community, of understanding, of love that survived death. I miss you, Mom, she whispered. But I understand now. You didn't die for nothing. You died so we could live. So we could be better. So we could prove that humanity survives not through hate, but through love. The wind howled across the ice plains. The frozen moon turned in the darkness. But in that moment, standing around a monument to a dead engineer who gave her last warmth to a stranger, 2 species understood each other. They understood grief. They understood sacrifice. They understood that the opposite of cold isn't heat, it's love. And love, once given, never truly dies. It spreads. It warms. It burns against winter until the darkness itself surrenders. That was what Hyan Suk proved. That was what humans do.